Hi, this is Dr. Katie Carter, and I'm super excited that you're here. And I realize that you're here because you're looking for better health. And I want you to know that that's actually a passion of mine. And I'm here to empower you to better health. It's what I do, and it's what my team does. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through some of the struggles and the challenges that get in the way of your better health. And I also want to talk to you about some steps that you can take so that you can move forward if you're super committed to changing your health, so that you can have your health better and way in the future. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some slides, and I think that'll be helpful. I'm going to talk through those slides because I think it would be really helpful for us. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about Kath. Within the first 3 minutes of her walking in the room, she said, Dr. Katie, I'm super worried about my health because I'm 72 and my mom and my grandmother had these exact same symptoms or very close to the same symptoms. And within a couple of years, they died. So she made it a priority for her to get her health back. And we needed to dive in to figure out what was going on. And all the symptoms that she had were worse than she had a recent illness. She really believed it was COVID, but she didn't get tested for it. And that was about 6 months before she came in. Her complaints were fatigue and irritability, abdominal pain, swollen lymph nodes that had gotten a lot worse since this illness that she had. And she had all over body pain, a lot of inflammation. She was having chronic bladder infections, blood sugar issues, motion sickness, with a lot of dizziness and nausea. She had a coated tongue, and she had 25 years of weight gain that she was just couldn't get off no matter what she did. And of course, she had that recent illness. So what happened was Kath and I were able to work comprehensively. We were able to help her with a structure that I provided for her that could actually teach her the foundations of how to live a healthy lifestyle while I worked with her comprehensively in a deep dive to look at all of the different aspects of her life with functional lab tests, all of her symptoms, and of course, the 37 years of clinical practice and all the tools that I have. After working with Kath for about 6 months, she got better. And she ended up writing me this. She said, Dr. Katie Carter's wellness program turned my declining health to wellness, fitness, and vitality. I had lingering symptoms from the flu or COVID, as well as many chronic complaints like significant weight gain. And I felt my health was declining quickly, like my mother and grandmother declined quickly as well and died around my age. Changing my eating habits, committing to a wellness detox routine for several months, and choosing to make lifestyle changes. And these are some of the things that I guided with her, and specifically for her case, remove the virus effects of my body and all the symptoms I came in with. And I lost 40 pounds for the first time in 25 years around my belly. Has been a year, and I continue to lose weight. I have increased vitality, and my fitness has strived towards a weekly routine of a 3-mile hiking and 30-mile biking, and I've never felt better. And the super exciting thing about this is Kath was actually used to being very physical. She was a wildlife biologist, a technician, was out in the woods a lot with her work over many decades, but she hadn't been able to lose that 40 pounds that was around her belly. And really what we needed to do is we needed to take a deep dive in a lot of the hormones that affect that. And we're going to talk about those hormones. And we're also going to talk about why people get stuck with their health. So, what we need to do first, move that 40 pounds that was around her belly. And really, what we needed to do is we needed to take a deep dive in a lot of the hormones that affect that. And we're going to talk about those hormones tonight. And we're also going to talk about why people get stuck with their health. So, what we need to do first is talk about America's healthcare crisis. We need to have a serious conversation about this because America and United States has a crazy over reliance on pharmaceuticals. And is this common or uncommon that we see this somebody lining up their pills on a daily basis? And does the pills actually get to the cause of the problem? No, of course not. They don't. They cover up the symptoms, but they might add some other symptoms on top of that. That is very concerning. And sometimes we're given more medications to deal with the symptoms of the previous medication. But of course, it isn't solving the problem of the blood pressure or the insomnia or the anxiety that this person might be feeling. What might be going on instead is that they're getting those symptoms band-aid, but the minute they go off of it, it's not really fixing the problem, right? It's going to be coming back. So it doesn't improve the health. It just kind of band-aids the symptoms. And so this is really important, especially when we realize that a lot of these pharmaceuticals have toxins and they're toxic to the body and they have serious side effects. So, and you have to think too that if she's taking 3 or 4 or 5 medications, that medication isn't actually suddenly going to do the trick. The other thing that gets in the way is something that you have in your wallet. And this is the misnomer that that insurance card is a health insurance card. At the very best, it's an early detection card. It's not a preventative medicine that's provided. If you get a colonoscopy or a mammogram, which I'm not discouraging you from having, but when you get those, that just detects whether you have that illness, doesn't it? It doesn't prevent you from getting colon cancer. And our health insurance card doesn't pay for health. In fact, health insurance is just like homeowners insurance, car insurance, life insurance. When do you want to use your insurance for those things? Really, you don't want to use them, right? You want to use them only if you're in crisis and you want to have them as a backup. Of course, we have insurance on our car, we have it on our house because people can go into crisis and you want to have that as a backup. Heaven forbid that you break your leg, you got to go in the emergency room. But 90% of all illness in America is chronic illness, and your healthcare card doesn't pay for that. It basically doesn't. And to drive that home a little further, we're going to just talk about the Medicare journal article that says care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary, and therefore it's not payable. This is really drives home the whole point. And what does this mean? Like, it's pretty nuts, isn't it? It's insane, really. People are suffering, but the quality of their life is not valued by the system. Of course, the system's been hijacked and it's not going to change anytime soon. So let's talk about what gets in the way. Really, it's money, isn't it? Money is driving all of this. And our major healthcare entities, for an example, when I was a kid, there was a community hospital. My parents gave money. There was a plaque on the wall for people who donated. And then over the years, those community hospitals got bought up by larger hospitals. And then those corporations got bought up by larger corporations. And sometimes we have hospitals here locally and around the state that are actually owned by places in different states. So those healthcare entities, along with our healthcare insurances, our medical supply stores, our pharmaceutical companies, those are all really large corporations that actually the responsibility is to the shareholders. And what does this have to do with your health? It doesn't have anything to do with your health. Problematic as that is, the system, you really have to realize the system's been hijacked, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So what you want to do is you want to take health into your own hands. You want to do the right thing. You want to find a guide, and you want to be willing to invest in your own health so that you can have that be your most valuable asset. Nothing really matters if you don't have your health, nothing material. And one of the things that we do really well is we teach people how to get their health back, how to have it in the future, so that not only can you get well for today and this year, but you can have it for decades into the future. So the other missing piece is and the thing that gets in the way really is the fact that a lot of you guys are playing Dr. Google. You go online, you see something that somebody's doing, and then you buy this thing, and then you try it for a while, and you think, oh, maybe you go one step forward, and then you know it go another back. Or another thing that can happen is that you start researching things and you get really full of anxiety. I see that a lot. And sometimes you can get concerned that you're going to die. Actually, playing Dr. Google is not actually going to help you because you're not working on a system for you, specifically for you. You need to actually have a system that is more guided towards what you're going through. I look forward to engaging with you about this because, everybody wants to live vital, healthy lives, don't they? Full of vitality. And people really want to show up. You want to show up for your spouses. You want to show up for your family, your kids, your grandkids. You want to show up for your work. You want to show up for your church. You want to show up for your community. You want to be your best. You want to live out your purpose, your God-given purpose where you were put on the earth, and get really clear about that and really start focusing on where your destination is. Where are you going? And I want you to really think about painting a picture what you would really like your health to be in the future. Because I really want to tell you that there's good news that you can have control over your health. You can be your own doctor and you can actually be proactive and just not sit back, but find a solution for these problems. The other problem that people have, really, they have a misunderstanding of their hormones. And I really want to go into this a little bit because what people think is when they think about hormones, they think about estrogen or they think about testosterone. They might be going in and getting a testosterone pellet every 3 months because it is an anti-aging hormone. What's happening is the other 60 testable hormones, which would be very expensive to test, or the 600 different hormones that we know that we have in the body are not really being dealt with. And we need to really focus on these hormones. I really want to go over those a little bit with you right now. You can divide those hormones into two sets. You've got your fat burning, also considered your anti-aging hormones, and then you've got your fat storing hormones. And of course, your fat storing hormones aren't hormones that we want to get rid of by any means. But what happens is that those get out of balance. What they do is they overwhelm and override these fat burning hormones, these anti-aging hormones. And so the ratio of this can go off. And so, for instance, insulin. What is insulin? It's secreted by the pancreas. You need it. But what happens is that we get A plus for eating the kind of diet that actually is very helpful for having an insulin issue. What happens is that when you end up having too much insulin in the body, your body will start storing your the carbohydrates and that you eat, and they'll start storing it as fat in your belly. And when that happens, you start having like pre-diabetes. You might triglycerides might be higher. Your doctor might check your hemoglobin A1C. It might be a little higher. You started having weight gain. It seems like whenever you eat, you get really tired. That's a symptom of insulin resistance. And so this is a problem, and we work real heavily with that. The other thing that happens is that estrogen gets out of balance. We've got a lot of estrogens in our environment. We have estrogens that are created because we have that extra fat that we put on our body. And so now we end up with estrogen excess. And this is out of ratio. So just giving a pellet of testosterone isn't going to do the trick. You really got to do the work and figure out what these imbalances are. And then, of course, we have cortisol. A lot of people are reading about it in the Dr. Google. That cortisol actually is a stress hormone, and it goes up when you're under stress. And a lot of times people will come in and they'll say, well, I had my cortisol checked and I thought it was going to be high because I can't lose this belly fat, or I have all this inflammation. And we know that high insulin and high cortisol can cause inflammation. So that can affect actually can cause brain fog and all kinds of symptoms in your body. When you have this higher cortisol, it's not going to necessarily be found when you do a blood test because that's free cortisol. And what we're going to be looking at, and with our patients, we look at this, is we look at your your metabolized cortisol. And we use the Precision Lab Dutch test for that. And if we see that the metabolized cortisol is higher, a lot of times I can diagnose that just by taking a very good history. But if the metabolized cortisol is too high, what happens is the gut actually the kind of steals. What it does is it steals the cortisol, and the cortisol then metabolizes all the calories that you're eating, and it stores it in the gut. And that was what was going on with Kath. She had a lot of storage deep down into her tissue, and that's a very dangerous form of where to save your fat. So just wanted to kind of go over that because this is really something that people aren't talking about when they tell you to go on a keto diet, or they're telling you to do this or telling you to do that. We've got to get these hormones regulated. Now, the other thing that's going on here is that we're finding that people aren't getting better because they're missing pieces. And the pieces that we put together, we put 5 pieces together. We focus on nutrition and detox and the hormones that I just mentioned. And then in addition to the hormones, in the subset of that, we'll talk about functional lab tests. And then, of course, we're made to move around, aren't we? We're made to be moving people. So fitness has to be part of that. But most importantly, we have a mentorship part, because what happens is that you might be working on parts of these at different times, but you're not really putting it all together. And that's a really important aspect of what we do. I really want to talk about what happens with these 5 pillars that I just mentioned. You know, we need to detox the body. There's a lot of different reasons why we need to. We have a lot of toxins coming in from the outside, but we also have a lot of metabolic waste products. And a lot of people aren't talking about that. But I do a deep study on that. I look at genetics and how sometimes we have SNPs in certain genes that disallow us to really process a lot of the toxins in our system. And so another way of looking at that is really when you build a fire in a fireplace and you burn the fuel for energy, which we do when we eat food. The byproduct is creosote, isn't it? And that has to be cleaned out of your fireplace. Well, your body needs to have that happening all of the time. And when we gain weight and we get sluggish and we've got inflammation, those are all signs that this system is being compromised. And this has to do with your mitochondria as well. So what we do is we actually put you through a detox program. We can see through symptoms of the liver and the kidneys and the gut and the skin when these issues are happening, when the body isn't detoxing very well. And the detox program that we do, we actually focus on those organ systems and the mitochondria so that it can function better. It's a very, very important aspect of what we do. And the other thing that we do in the nutrition is that we'll crowd in at the same time that I'm working on all the making sure that I understand everything that's going on functionally with a person, is that I'll have them crowd in a lot of really healthy foods and crowd out the unhealthy foods, the things that are getting in the way of us achieving the goals that we want to have. You got to remember the definition of it is to sustain life, provide energy, and promote growth and repair of tissues. So we really want to focus on that. You know, you all want normalcy in your life, right? You want to be able to go out and celebrate with your friends. But, you know, we need to take a little pause on that for just a minute and actually start discovering what foods are best for you. So when we crowd in all those good foods and crowd out those other foods, then we can get you symptom free. And then we can start adding foods back one at a time, because, you know, your body is not the same as anybody else's. Everybody's different. One size doesn't fit all. And we're really skilled at what we do in terms of bringing back food one at a time and seeing how that food affects you. This is really an important thing to understand. We don't like you to diet, and we don't want you to feel like you're dieting, and you're not going to feel that way because you're not dieting. And this is the way that we can do it. That's the other part of the nutrition. our bodies were designed to move. But a lot of times people will come in to see me and they'll want a program like I'm talking about right now. And we'll get started with them. They're not well enough to get into a fitness program because they're feeling so much pain. Their mitochondria is compromised. They're exhausted. The last thing we want to do with that person at that phase of the program is to give them an exercise protocol. What we want to do is we want to move them into that when they're feeling a lot better. And people are kind of always itching to get going once their symptoms are gone. So, we're not going to have you do this. This is not part of the program. And I just thought I'd share that a little bit. But we might do something that looks like this. Now, everybody's an individual, so we're not going to necessarily do the same thing. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is that we talked about the detox, we talked about the nutrition, and we talked about the fitness. And now I really want to talk a little bit more about the hormones. And I talked about the hormones at the beginning, didn't I? I talked about the insulin and the estrogen and the cortisol and how those out of balance will cause you to gain more weight. Sometimes we don't realize that our body type actually can indicate to us how we're gaining the weight and what's happening with that. So I'm going to just go over this really briefly and just let you know that the estrogen body type, you're going to get your weight will be a little bit more on your hips and your legs. And a guy can have that too. And what happens with guys is they can actually start developing breasts. So we look for these kind of things. The other next type is the adrenal body type. That's where the cortisol has really gotten out of control. We get all of that belly fat. It's kind of hard to get to that belly fat. And sometimes when people do dieting with this particular type of hormone imbalance, is that when they start dieting, we'll notice that their legs will get really skinny and their muscles will waste while their belly actually stays enlarged. So we really want to focus heavily on this cortisol issue and that metabolized cortisol that I mentioned earlier. And then the thyroid, my goodness, we have so many people that don't have their thyroid checked. Even the doctors, they're checking TSH, which is a pituitary hormone. It's not a thyroid hormone. And we see this a lot. It's a missing link. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But the body type that happens is kind of a weight gain throughout the body. And then the liver. The liver is this hard kind of belly, beer belly, you can call it. We call it fatty liver disease now. We used to call it alcoholic fatty liver. And the thing of it is that a lot of things will potentiate you to have fatty liver disease. Our modern culture will potentiate that. In fact, we've even gotten to the point where we've normalized fatty liver because 30 to 40% of our population now has fatty liver disease. And the reason for that, sadly enough, is because of all the synthetic things in our environment. And that includes your pharmaceuticals. Not that I would have you go off your pharmaceuticals because I just said that, but get healthy and to be guided so that you can go off those pharmaceuticals. We certainly don't want to normalize fatty liver disease, but it has been in our culture. High fructose corn syrup is another reason why people are having more fatty liver disease, all the processed foods that we're eating. So this is a real issue. The other reason that you might not be getting the results that you need is because the blood tests that you're getting aren't enough. The standard blood tests that are run by your medical doctor are just basically done through the lens of disease, ruling out a disease. What happens is that they're not actually looking through the lens of health. If we look through the lens of health, we realize that there's so many other labs that can be useful for that. All of our inflammatory labs, our deep dive into the ferritin levels and all the iron storages. We can look at several of the inflammatory markers, and we can look at deep dive in the thyroid markers and also a lot more extensively into your lipid panel to see if maybe you have some benefit from some of your lipids that you're not even realizing. These are really important things to know, that there's a lot more out there for you besides that standard blood test, that they're just looking to see if they can rule out a certain disease. So we want to look through those lens of health. And for an example, and this is the thyroid test, and that we run about 8 tests here, and there's one missing on the bottom. It's the another antibody test because we really want to get a picture of how the thyroid's functioning. Because by looking at the TSH, that doesn't give me any indication if there's some nutrient deficiency with the thyroid, some things that I need to address with the thyroid. And then the other thing that I want to talk to you about, and I think it's really important that you understand what a bell curve is. A bell curve is basically a graph of normal distribution. And what happens is that when people go into a lab, the lab values, the reference ranges that you have when you get your labs back are determined actually by who goes into the lab. That's why when you get reference ranges from different places, it's often different. That's because every lab has their own reference ranges depending on who goes there. So this is very concerning because who goes to the lab? Are the healthiest people in our culture going to the lab, or are those people that maybe are sick more often going to the lab? And so I don't know about you, but I think that that's a really, really important thing to know about. And so because this is true, that so many people go to the lab and the reference ranges are based on those, we like to take your labs and look at it in a functional range. We look at the yellow part and go, oh, there's some issues here. And we really like to look at that functional range. We can explain that more to you when you're in the office and show you how that we look at your labs that way. And then the fifth thing, so we're talking about all of the different things, the nutrition, the detox, the hormones and the testing, the fitness and the mentorship. And with the mentorship, this is perhaps the very most important part of bringing all of those pillars together, because I need to decide what your underlying cause of your issues are. I need to create a plan for you and educate and empower you and guide you through your journey. And of course, hold you accountable, be there for you, encourage you, and celebrate with you. And we find the celebration happens on a monthly basis because there's so many changes going on. And so what we do is we treat the whole person. We have a system that's uniquely catered to you. We work on everything together. We don't have a template that applies to everybody the same way. And this program works for you because we bundle all these things together so that you know what it's going to take to reach to your destination. So there's not any surprises. And this is a very important thing that we have going on. And really, it's really about finding a mentor that will do that, will put all these pieces together for you. And, I want to say that 94% of failure is basically from not having a system. I know that everything that I learn and everything that I do, I like to have a system for it. And I think that you'll find that true in most aspects of your life. So I'd like to talk to you now about Myrna. Myrna came into me. She was on methotrexate for her rheumatoid arthritis, which is a chemotherapeutic agent, and it's very toxic to the body. She had high blood pressure, and so she was put on blood pressure medications, and she came in with that. She had chronic back pain and a lot of knee pain. She'd been given a statin, and ever since she was given the statin, she had more pain. And she was starting to have these irregular heartbeats that were starting to run in together. And when she was sent to a cardiologist, the cardiologist said, I think we should just put you on a steroid and probably leave you on that because the inflammation in your body is just really wreaking havoc on your heart. And needless to say, her husband was very worried about her. So were her children. Her whole group of people were very supportive of her in getting some help because she needed to be her best. I mean, Myrna, she's not only a wife and a mother and a grandmother, but she's a cultural leader. She is very expert at wildcrafting food and also for herbs. And she puts on camps in the summer up in the mountains. She does just wildcrafting, whenever it's available, spring, summer, fall. So she needed to be at her best. And so what happened was that she sent me this picture of her. And she said, here I am at my heaviest. I continued my seasonal gathering, but I had to pack a chair around so I could sit often, and my knees were hurting a lot. I forgot to mention that she had, in the other picture, that she'd also quit smoking. Well, kudos to her, right? But she gained 20 pounds from that too. So she was really being compromised. So what happened was that we did the same thing that we did with Kath. We actually taught her a structure so that she knew the foundations of how to live a healthy lifestyle. And we did that while we simultaneously did all the other work that I do in my office that I've been doing for 37 years on all the skills that I've accumulated. And here she's saying, and I love the way she says this, my latest picture of my journey to wellness, I haven't felt so alive. 60 pounds gone and focused on eating as medicine, not weight loss. It just happens. I can now hear my body tell me what it needs. No more compulsive addictive behavior. I don't even like the foods I once chose. New foods are satisfying and I don't feel deprived. There's so much she's still discovering. This is a year later. I sleep so good too. My internal gauges are operating and all the symptoms that I came in with you are gone and I'm off the medications. Wow. Methotrexate, statins, blood pressure medications, all of these things that the potential that they were going to put her on steroids. And you know what happens with those. All these same symptoms I came in with are gone, and I'm off the medications. Thank you, Dr. Carter, for the program and your compassion. So, we were able to change her life. And, when Myrna decided to do the program, she was really hesitant about it. But who really made it happen for her? It was her spouse. Her spouse was like, no, this has got to happen. We want you around for all these years. And the other thing that happened for her was she wanted to be able to go back in the Bob Marshall wilderness on a horse like she had for all those years before, and she wasn't able to do that at that point. And so that was some of her drives. And that's what I want you to think about. People wanting you need your destination. You need to look at where you're going and what you're wanting to do with your life. We celebrate this with everybody, and everybody's got their goals, right? And we want to get everybody to where they want to go. But really, this is really all about you. And what I really wanted to do is I've just been talking about how you need to take care of yourself. You need to do something different because you know what? If you don't take care of yourself, somebody else is going to have to. And you don't want that. And your family loves you. They want you to be well. And so I just want you to be thinking about doing the right thing for yourself and getting to a better place. But what all this knowledge that I'm giving you in this little bit of time, this is all great. And you can apply the knowledge in some way. But you know what? You can agree with everything I'm saying, but if you don't take action, then nothing's going to change. So I really want to encourage you to take action because action truly does change things. And you've got to do something different. And what I've done is I've made it really easy for you to take action and get on the right road to health. This is the next step that I want you to take. I want you to actually, there's going to be a little link below this, and there's going to be a place where you can actually book a discovery call. And my office manager or one of my team members will actually be there for you, be on that scheduled call. And we're going to just talk about what you've been going through, what you've done to address your health and your concerns. And we're also going to talk about a plan of action to prepare you for your first appointment. And so I really want to encourage you to do that. After the discovery call, what happens is that my team comes back to me and we talk about what you're going through, how you've addressed your problem. And then what my team does is that they email you a consultation form, and you're going to fill out that form, and you're going to you're going to talk about things that have never been asked to you by any other doctor. And I'm going to actually really pour over that and read over that and study that. And I'm going to then have a visit with you. And that visit is actually only $84. Even though a new patient visit with me is $300, if you're wanting to do a program, I will see you for $84. It's because this is what I've always dreamed of doing, being able to use all the skills that I've developed through my whole life, 37 years to be able to take people way farther than I can take you if you just come in piecemealing it and seeing me as a new patient here and seeing me as follow-ups. I really want to encourage you to do a program, and this is what my piece skin in the game is that I will see you for an hour for $84, which doesn't cover my overhead. And I need you to have a little skin in the game as well. So after you have that free discovery call, then we can set you up for that time with me, which would be an hour. At the end of that hour, what happens is that we actually will tell you everything it would take to get you to your destination. We'll bundle in everything. All those 5 pillars will be bundled together so that you won't have any surprises. You'll know exactly what it's going to take to get to your destination. Some questions that people often have is that, can I help everybody? That's a really good question. And the answer is no, I can't help everybody, but I can help people who want to make a change, who want to commit to making a change, that want to get to a destination. And those are the people that I can help. And does your spouse know to be to that meeting that we have, that $84 meeting? Yes, your spouse has to be there because I want to know that you have the support that you need to make the changes that you need to do. And also, maybe your spouse wants to do a program with you. We have lots of people who do this with their spouse. Very, very, very successful. And so we actually discount that too. And we can do the 2 of you for $134. Or maybe you have another family member that you want to bring with you, and it's $134 for 2 people. Is the program hard? The program is not hard, but it is a system that you need to do consistently and sustainably over a bit of time, which you will be supported in so that you can get to your destination. And so it takes focus, right? But the great thing is that when we get brain fog gone in the first month, the focus is much easier. So we really assist you through that whole process. The other question people are go, can I use my insurance for this program? I'm a licensed physician. Insurance, we can, super bills and all that, send it in and people can get reimbursed. But no, not for this program. Because do you think that the program that Kath and Myrna did, do you think that Medicare is going to pay for that? It's just not going to happen at all. And the question is then, can I afford it? Well, I've got single moms that do this. I find people in their, after when they retire, they do this. They're on fixed incomes. They'll do it together. I have a lot of people do this. We can bundle it in a way that you'll know at the end of that hour if this is going to work for you. So the next step is basically booking that discovery call. And I really want to encourage you to do that. And I look forward to seeing you. And I want to just thank you for spending all this time with me. I encourage you to share this video with your spouse so that, and your friends too, but your spouse, so that they know what you're interested in, and they can be pre-educated so that when you do come in for that consultation, that we all can kind of sit down and we're all on the same page. If you're not computer savvy and you really need to get a hold of us, our phone number is 406-883-4325. You'll find this on the website that you're on. And thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to send blessings to you and your family. Okay, bye now.